Following a sharp decline in the first half of the year, trade recovered more quickly than expected in the second half of 2020. This rebound has continued, and the WTO's baseline trade forecast foresees an 8% increase in the volume of world merchandise trade for 2021.
I think it's fairly safe to say that trade has done relatively well. There's been significant concerns about export restrictions and policy measures being put in the path of trade and slowing its growth, but overall it's been relatively robust. And I think that says something about the underlying fundamental, the foundation of the WTO and the agreements, in that members feel restraint in invoking measures that might impede trade. Now, should they feel more restraint? Maybe. That's up to them. But overall, it appears that trade has been providing a strong underpinning so far for a potential recovery.
COVID-19 continues to pose the greatest threat to the outlook for trade. New waves of infection could easily further undermine any hoped-for recovery. The rapid development of effective vaccines has given the world a realistic chance of stopping this disease in its tracks and jump-starting the world economy at the same time. But this opportunity could be squandered if large numbers of countries and people do not have equal access to vaccines. A rapid, global, and equitable vaccine rollout is the best stimulus plan we have for the strong and sustained economic recovery that we all need. Large monetary and fiscal injections in advanced economies helped prevent a bigger downturn last year, a major factor in why growth and trade have both outperformed projections from last year. But these support measures will not be enough to bring an end to the crisis. Only by ramping up production of vaccines and making them more widely available can we hope to get the world economy back to full speed.
Thank you for that question. So it's important to keep the Suez Canal trade impacts in perspective. The estimate generated by other folks has been about $10 billion per day. That's about 20% of global daily trade. However, that's not lost completely. So that trade is delayed. Overall, I think we'll see trade start to return to a more normal path after 2022, although 2022 is probably a reasonable recovery. Much will depend on what happens to global GDP.
The WTO has helped to keep trade flowing during the crisis. Now the international community must leverage the power of trade to expand access to life-saving vaccines.